You are driving down the highway. Music is on. Your mind is somewhere else. And then, it happens. On the other side of the road, two cars are pulled off to the shoulder. One of them has a crumpled hood. There are flashing lights, a few people standing around, and nothing that has anything to do with you or your journey. The road ahead of you is completely clear, and yet your head turns. Your foot lifts slightly off the gas. Your eyes pull toward the wreckage like something is physically reaching through the window and redirecting your gaze. You know you should not look. You look anyway. And then comes the guilt. The brief, uncomfortable moment where you catch yourself staring at someone else's worst day, and you ask the one question that actually matters here. What is wrong with me? The answer is nothing. And everything about why your eyes went there is about to change how you understand your own brain forever. Here is what most people assume when they catch themselves rubbernecking. They think it is morbid curiosity. They think it is some dark voyeuristic impulse that decent people should be ashamed of. They think it reflects something unsettling about their character. Clinical psychologist Dr. John Mayer, writing for NBC News, has a completely different explanation, and it has nothing to do with character. The moment that crumpled car entered your field of vision, your brain did not make a moral decision. It made a survival decision. And it made it before you had any conscious involvement in the process at all. The structure responsible for that hijack is called the amygdala. It is a small, almond-shaped cluster of neurons buried deep in your temporal lobe, and it has been operating the same way for hundreds of thousands of years. The amygdala does not evaluate situations. It does not weigh options or consult your values or ask what a reasonable person would do. It detects threat signals, and it seizes your attention, immediately and completely, before the thinking parts of your brain have even registered that something is happening. Neuroimaging studies show that the amygdala responds to negative stimuli measurably faster than to positive ones. Brainwave research using electroencephalography has confirmed that the brain's initial attention response is significantly larger for threatening images than for neutral or pleasant ones. You orient toward danger before you have time to think. That is not a character flaw. That is the system working exactly the way it was built to work. And it was built this way for a very specific reason. Your brain is operating on ancient software. The threat detection system running inside your skull was shaped across hundreds of thousands of years of human survival, in environments where missing a danger signal was fatal, and where every piece of information about what could kill you was potentially life-saving. A rustling in the tall grass, a sound from the wrong direction, an animal that had taken down a member of your group. Each of these required your full attention immediately, not after deliberation, not after a moment of reflection, right now. The humans whose brains prioritized threats over everything else survived long enough to have children. The ones who did not turn toward the danger in time did not. You are the descendant of every person who ever turned toward the threat, and the car crash on the shoulder of the highway is your ancient amygdala doing the exact same job it has always done. It is scanning for information about what just happened, how serious it is, and whether you are next. But here is the part that should genuinely stop you. The pull you feel toward the crash is not just about the crash itself. Neuropsychologist Rick Hansen of the University of California, Berkeley, has found that the human amygdala allocates roughly 2/3 of its neurons specifically to detecting and storing negative information. 2/3 of your brain's primary emotional processing structure is dedicated to the bad. A 2014 study by researchers at McGill University gave participants a free choice between positive and negative news stories to read. Even participants who explicitly stated they preferred positive content overwhelmingly selected the negative stories when actually given the option. Their stated preferences and their real behavior were in direct conflict. Dr. Renee Carr, a psychologist who contributed to NBC's research on this topic, calls this pattern negativity bias. And she defines it simply: Your brain automatically devotes more attention to negative events than to positive ones. Not sometimes. Not when you are in a bad mood. Automatically. By default. Every time. This is the same mechanism behind every behavior you recognize in yourself but cannot fully explain. It is why you can spend an entire day receiving compliments, and one piece of criticism will be the only thing you remember by midnight. It is why a news broadcast that leads with a disaster will hold your attention longer than one that leads with good news. It is why a 2014 study, published in PLOS One, found that people consistently choose to look at disturbing images even when pleasant ones are available, even when they know the disturbing images will make them feel worse. Your brain is not trying to torture you. It is trying to protect you by keeping you informed about everything in your environment that might represent a threat. The car crash is just the most visible modern version of the signal your ancestors were scanning for every moment of their lives. Now here is the piece that behavioral scientist Dr. Colton Scrivener of Arizona State University adds to this picture, and it reframes the entire conversation. Scrivener, who has published research on morbid curiosity in journals including Psychological Science and Nature Scientific Reports, describes rubbernecking not as a malfunction, but as your brain running a threat simulation. When you look at a crash scene, your brain is not just processing what you are seeing, it is extracting information. It is asking which sequence of events produced this outcome. How fast were they going? What road condition caused this? Could this happen to me on this road today? You are not watching damage out of some dark desire for suffering. You are learning from a safe distance about a scenario your brain has already categorized as genuinely dangerous. It is the same mechanism that makes you turn the page in a true crime book. The same mechanism that fills horror movie theaters every weekend. The same mechanism that made your ancestors study the remains of whatever had come through the camp last night. Your brain is gathering survival intelligence from someone else's catastrophe, so that it does not have to experience the catastrophe directly to understand it. And the data on how powerful this pull is should make you feel significantly less guilty about every time you have done it. Research published in the Journal of Transportation Technologies and reviewed by the Transportation Safety Training Center at Virginia Commonwealth University found that rubbernecking is among the leading causes of secondary vehicle crashes. Not texting, not drinking, looking at someone else's crash and causing a new one. Drivers in research studies spent an average of 12 seconds looking at accident scenes when their view was unobstructed. When barriers were placed to completely block the view, looking time dropped to an average of 4 seconds. But here is the finding that reveals just how deep this pull goes. When barriers only partially blocked the scene, leaving just a hint of something there, looking time stayed almost as high as when the scene was fully visible. The mere suggestion that something had happened was enough to keep the brain locked on. You do not need to see the crash. You need to know what is on the other side of the barrier. The uncertainty itself is the trigger. This is the attentional blink in action, a phenomenon studied in cognitive psychology that describes what happens when your attention is suddenly seized by a high-priority signal. The moment your brain flags the crash as potentially threat-relevant, it briefly locks out everything else. The cars in front of you, the lane markings, your speed. For those 12 seconds, your conscious attention is somewhere else entirely. And a study cited by the American Psychological Association has found that taking your eyes off the road for as little as 2 seconds doubles your risk of an accident. The very thing your brain is doing to keep you safe from danger is creating new danger while it does it. Your ancient hardware is running in a modern environment it was never designed for. But here is what no one tells you about the moment you turn your head toward that crash. You feel something that is genuinely difficult to name. It is not pleasure. It is not enjoyment. It is closer to the feeling you get at the edge of a very high place. That involuntary pull downward that has nothing to do with wanting to fall. Researchers who study this area describe the experience as a mixture of fear and curiosity firing simultaneously. Two systems that normally oppose each other, running in parallel. The fear system is telling you this is dangerous. The curiosity system is telling you that you need information about this danger right now. Both of them are correct. Both of them are ancient. And the result is that specific, uncomfortable, slightly electric feeling of being unable to look away from something you know you should not be looking at. Carl Jung, who founded analytical psychology, argued that humans are drawn to witnessing scenes of destruction because they allow you to experience your most primal fears without having to survive them. The crash on the shoulder is the controlled burn version of a threat, close enough to learn from, far enough away to survive. So the next time your head turns on the highway, toward the flashing lights and the crumpled metal, and the people standing in the cold on someone else's worst afternoon, understand exactly what is happening inside your skull in that moment. Your amygdala has fired. Your negativity bias has activated. Your ancient threat assessment system has seized your attention and begun extracting survival data from the scene before you had any say in the matter. 2/3 of your emotional processing structure is doing the job it has done for hundreds of thousands of years. You are not broken. You are not morbid. You are not a bad person stealing a look at someone else's disaster. You are a human brain in a car, running software that was written long before cars existed, doing exactly what it was designed to do. The guilt you feel afterward is the newest part of you reacting to the oldest part of you. And the oldest part wins every single time.